The mine collapsed. 12 men trapped underground. 6 hours of air and one impossible rescue. But Duke had done the impossible before, and he was about to do it again. The explosion echoed through Copper Canyon like thunder from hell itself. Deep, bone-shaking, final. Mine Foreman Jack stood frozen outside shaft number 3. His blood went cold. That sound meant only one thing: collapse. The ground beneath his boots trembled violently. Dust billowed from the mine entrance in massive, choking clouds. Thick, gray, suffocating. Men shouted from every direction, ran toward the opening with panic in their eyes. Jack's mind raced frantically. 12 men were down there, 12 miners working the deep shaft. His crew, his responsibility, his friends. Some he'd known for 20 years. The dust began to settle, slowly, like a gray funeral shroud. The entrance was blocked, completely sealed. Tons of rock where the tunnel used to be. Massive boulders stacked like a giant's wall. Jack's hands shook uncontrollably. This was every foreman's nightmare. The thing you prayed would never happen during your watch. But it just did. Right in front of him. Within minutes, the whole town of Copper Ridge knew what happened. Word spread like wildfire through the small mining community. Copper Ridge came alive with panic and fear. Wives ran toward the mine, screaming their husbands' names. Children cried. Men grabbed shovels and pickaxes from their homes, ready to dig, ready to help, ready to do anything. But Jack knew better than most, knew the terrible danger. You couldn't just start digging randomly, not with unstable rock above, not with aftershocks possible, not with the mountains still settling. More men would die if they rushed in blindly. They needed help, professional help, someone who understood mine rescues. He sent his fastest rider to Silver Creek immediately, 20 miles away through rough terrain. Marshal Ben had dealt with mine rescues before, had training, had experience, and most importantly, he had Duke. That legendary German shepherd had saved lives before, found people trapped in impossible situations, found them when human searchers couldn't. The rider galloped off at full speed, dust cloud trailing behind like a banner. All they could do now was wait, and pray, and hope 12 men had enough air. Inside the collapsed tunnel, darkness was absolute, complete, suffocating. Miner Tom felt blood running down his face, slowly, warm, sticky, metallic taste in his mouth. His ears rang painfully from the blast, high-pitched whine that wouldn't stop. He couldn't see anything at all, couldn't see his hand in front of his face. Total blackness. Everyone alive? His voice sounded muffled, distant, like underwater. Coughs answered him from the darkness, groans of pain, shuffling sounds. Slowly, voices emerged one by one. "I'm here. Me too. My leg's pinned under something. I can't move my arm." One by one, they counted off in the darkness. 12 voices, 12 men, all alive somehow, all trapped together. Tom felt a surge of desperate hope. Then reality crashed down hard. They were buried under a mountain of rock. The main entrance was gone completely. Air was limited in this sealed space. Time was their enemy now, their only enemy that mattered. Tom found his oil lamp with shaking hands. It hadn't broken in the collapse. Small miracle. He struck a match with trembling fingers. The flame caught weakly. Weak yellow light pushed back the darkness slightly. He could see faces now, dirty, bloodied, terrified, eyes wide with fear. The tunnel had collapsed 50 feet from where they'd been working. A massive wall of rock sealed them in completely, solid, immovable, impossible. Young Peter sat against the wall, maybe 19 years old, his leg trapped under a fallen support beam, blood pooling beneath him. Others checked themselves for injuries, broken ribs, deep cuts, bruises everywhere, but all alive. That was something. That was everything right now. "How much air we got?" someone asked quietly. The question everyone was thinking. Tom calculated mentally. This section of tunnel wasn't large. 12 men breathing constantly. Maybe 6 hours, if they stayed calm. Maybe less if they panicked. His heart sank. 6 hours wasn't long enough. Not for a rescue through solid rock. Not nearly long enough. Above ground, Marshal Ben arrived with Duke. They'd ridden hard from Silver Creek, changed horses twice at relay stations, made the 20 miles in under 2 hours, pushed the animals to their limits. Jack met them at the mine entrance immediately. His face was gray with exhaustion and fear, dark circles under bloodshot eyes. 12 men, Marshal, down there 6 hours already. He pointed at the blocked entrance with a shaking hand. "We can't dig there, too unstable. Whole mountain could come down on top of them." Ben surveyed the scene with professional calm, years of experience keeping his face neutral, calculating odds, measuring dangers. Duke sat beside him perfectly still, alert, watching everything. The dog's nose worked constantly, testing the air, reading the mountain, understanding things humans couldn't. "Are there other entrances to these tunnels?" Ben asked. Jack nodded slowly. "Old shafts, abandoned years ago. Most are flooded or collapsed themselves. Too dangerous to use. We sealed them for good reason." Ben looked down at Duke. The dog was already moving, nose to the ground, following something invisible. Duke led them away from the main entrance, away from the crowd of worried families, toward the mountain's western slope, opposite direction from everything. His nose swept side to side, methodically, professional, never rushing. He stopped at a large pile of old rocks and debris, ancient timbers visible underneath, rotted, weathered, forgotten. Jack came up behind them, breathing hard. "That's shaft number 1, original mine from the 1850s, sealed 20 years ago, completely unstable, flooded at the bottom levels." Ben examined the entrance carefully, studied the timbers, the rock pile. Could it connect to shaft 3 somehow? Jack thought hard, pulled a crumpled old map from his coat pocket, unfolded it with dirty hands, studied the faded lines. Maybe, possibly, the old tunnel runs parallel to the new one, but there's a 50-foot gap between them, solid rock. Ben looked at Duke again. The dog was pawing at the rocks urgently, insistent, determined. He'd found something important. "We check it anyway," Ben decided firmly. "It's the only chance they have." They cleared the entrance as fast as possible. 10 men working frantically, shovels flying, pickaxes striking, bare hands when tools weren't enough. The old timbers were rotten through, crumbled like paper in their hands. Within an hour of brutal work, they'd opened a gap, big enough for a man to squeeze through, big enough for a dog. Duke pushed forward immediately. No hesitation, no fear. Ben grabbed a lantern quickly, checked his rope. "I'm going in with him." Jack protested loudly. "Marshal, that tunnel could collapse any second. We don't know what's down there. Could be flooded, could be gas, could be anything." Ben was already moving toward the entrance. Those men have maybe 2 hours of air left. We're completely out of options. Duke disappeared into the darkness ahead. Ben followed close behind. The tunnel was low, narrow, cramped. Water dripped constantly from above, cold, steady. The air smelled strongly of rot and minerals, mold, decay. Duke moved confidently despite the conditions. His nose guided him perfectly. Ben trusted that nose completely, always had, always would. The old tunnel twisted downward steeply, deeper into the mountain's heart. Duke never hesitated once, never slowed his pace. He knew something, sensed something. The tunnel split ahead, left and right into darkness. Duke chose left without any pause, certain. Ben's lantern cast dancing shadows on wet walls, made everything alive, threatening, unstable. They walked for 10 minutes through the darkness, 15 minutes, 20. The tunnel narrowed further with each step. Ben had to crouch uncomfortably, had to crawl in places. Duke squeezed through tight gaps, always forward, always deeper. Water was ankle-deep now, cold, flowing. Then the dog stopped suddenly, completely frozen, ears forward, rigid, alert, focused on something ahead. He'd heard something, distant, something Ben's human ears couldn't possibly detect, a sound from deep within the mountain. Ben held his breath, listened hard. Nothing but dripping water. But Duke's body language said everything. The dog knew something, something important. They were close, had to be close. But what Duke didn't know yet was that the mountain wasn't finished settling. Another collapse was building somewhere above them, pressure mounting, rock shifting, and they were walking right into its path. Time was running out faster than anyone realized. Duke moved forward again into the darkness. Slower now, more cautious than before, his instincts sensing danger everywhere. The tunnel walls were wet and slick with moisture, covered in green slime. Ben's boots splashed through deepening water with each step. It was up to his knees now, cold, numbingly cold, biting through his pants. The dog swam through a completely flooded section ahead, paddling steadily, strong, determined. Ben followed carefully, holding the lantern high above his head, keeping it dry, keeping their only light alive. His clothes were soaked completely through, heavy, pulling him down. The tunnel opened slightly ahead into a wider chamber. Duke climbed onto dry rock gratefully, shook water from his thick coat, droplets flying everywhere. Then froze completely, listening intently. His ears twitched constantly, rotating, tracking some distant sound. Ben strained to hear anything at all. Then he caught it, faintly, very faint, like ghosts. Voices, human voices, echoing through solid rock. Duke had found them, had actually found them somehow. But they were still separated by who knew how much stone, still trapped behind tons of rock and earth. Ben examined the chamber carefully with his lantern. 3 tunnel branches led away into darkness. Different directions, different depths, different dangers. Which one was correct? Duke sniffed each entrance methodically. Professional, thorough. First tunnel on the left. He sniffed, moved on. Nothing. Second tunnel in the middle. He paused, interested, tested the air. Third tunnel on the right. He sat down immediately. The signal. Clear, definite. This was the one. This was the right path. "Good boy," Ben whispered quietly. His voice echoed strangely in the chamber. Duke entered the third tunnel without hesitation. Ben followed close behind. This passage was different from the others, newer somehow. The walls showed clear tool marks, recent excavation, pickaxe strikes. Maybe this was an exploratory shaft, something not on Jack's old maps, something forgotten. They moved deeper into the mountain's heart. The voices grew slightly louder with each step. Definitely voices. Definitely the trapped miners. Definitely alive. "Help! Anyone out there?" A voice called desperately, hopeful, terrified. Ben shouted back loudly, "We're coming! Hold on!" A cheer erupted from beyond the rock somewhere. Weak, tired, but alive. Still alive. Duke reached a wall of rubble blocking the passage. Fresh collapse. Not from the original explosion hours ago. Something newer, something recent. The rocks were loose, unstable, piled haphazardly without order. Ben approached very carefully, tested the stability with his hands. His hand pushed through easily between rocks. The barrier wasn't solid stone, just debris, movable debris. "We're right here!" The voice came from directly on the other side, close, maybe 10 feet away, maybe less. "Can you dig from your side?" Ben called through the gap. "We'll dig from here." Sounds of immediate movement answered him, rocks scraping against rocks, men working frantically. Duke pawed at the barrier urgently, helping however he could, moving smaller stones with his paws. Ben joined him carefully, one rock at a time, methodically. Too fast and everything would collapse inward, bury them all together. They worked together steadily, man and dog, partners. Each stone removed revealed more light from the other side. Lamplight, blessed lamplight. The trapped miners were digging too, working toward freedom. After 30 long minutes of careful work, they broke through completely. A small gap opened, maybe 2 feet wide, just enough. Ben shined his lantern through the opening. 12 dirty faces stared back at him, exhausted beyond measure, bloodied, but alive, actually alive. "Marshal Ben?" Tom asked in complete disbelief, voice cracking. "How did you possibly find us down here?" Ben smiled despite everything. "Not me. Duke found you." He gestured to the dog. Duke's head pushed through the gap curiously. Several miners laughed weakly, reached through to pet him, touch him, thank him. "That's the most beautiful dog I've ever seen in my life," someone said emotionally. Others agreed loudly. Duke had saved their lives, found them when no human could. But celebration was premature, way too premature. They still had to get out. The tunnel behind Ben was treacherous, flooded, unstable, and they had 12 injured men to move. Some couldn't walk properly. Getting everyone out alive would be the real challenge now. "We need to widen this gap significantly," Ben said firmly. He examined the rubble carefully, studied its structure. But carefully, very carefully. This whole section is extremely unstable. Tom understood immediately. Years of mining experience. "We'll work from this side. You direct us from there." They began removing rocks systematically, creating a proper passage, large enough for grown men. Young Peter was first priority, obviously. His leg was badly crushed under the beam. He needed a doctor soon, very soon, or he'd lose it. Duke squeezed back through to Ben's side, returned to his partner. The dog was panting heavily, exhausted, tired. He'd been working for hours without rest, swimming, climbing, searching, but his tail still wagged slowly. The job wasn't finished yet, not even close. Within an hour of hard work, the gap was large enough, big enough for men to pass through. Ben went through to assess injuries properly. 3 men had obvious broken bones. 5 had deep cuts bleeding slowly. All were severely dehydrated, exhausted beyond measure, but mobile enough to walk out. They could make it. Duke moved forward cautiously. The tunnel walls were wet and slick. Ben's boots splashed through deepening water. Up to his knees now, cold. The dog swam through a flooded section, paddling steadily. Ben followed, holding the lantern high, his clothes soaked through. The tunnel opened into a wider chamber. Duke climbed onto dry rock, shook water from his coat, then froze, listening. His ears twitched. Ben strained to hear, then caught it. Faint voices. Human voices. Duke had found them, but they were still separated by tons of rock. Water dripped faster from the ceiling above. Ben noticed it immediately. Not a good sign. The groaning wasn't just settling rock, it was something worse, something more dangerous. A water channel breaking through somewhere. Underground river redirected by the collapse, finding new paths. And they were directly in one of those paths. The water level in the tunnel was rising, slowly but steadily. Ben could see it. 1 inch, 2 inches, 3, rising. They were in serious trouble, real danger. "Move faster," Ben ordered urgently, his voice sharp, commanding. But you can't rush through rising water, can't rush with injured men barely walking. The water reached their waists quickly, then their chests, then their necks. Peter's carriers lifted him higher, desperately, struggling, gasping for air. Duke swam ahead strongly, testing the depth constantly, showing them the safest path. But what they didn't know was that the main water channel was about to break through completely, a wall of water building pressure. And when it broke, they had seconds, only seconds to survive. The roar came without warning, deep, thunderous, terrifying. A wall of water exploded through the tunnel behind them, massive, unstoppable. "Run!" Ben screamed. Everyone ran. Injured men forgotten their pain. Survival instinct took over completely. The water hit them like a charging bull, swept them forward violently. Duke swam frantically, fighting the current with everything he had. Ben grabbed Peter, held his head above the raging water. Others grabbed each other, formed a human chain. The water pushed them through the tunnel, fast, dangerous, out of control. They crashed into walls, into rocks, bodies battered, but moving, always moving, forward, toward the surface, toward life. The current was brutal, merciless. 3 men went under, disappeared beneath the dark, churning surface. Tom dove down, found one, pulled him up, gasping, choking, but alive. Duke's head appeared ahead, still swimming, still leading them. The dog refused to quit, refused to give up. Ben saw daylight, faint, distant, but real. The entrance. They were close, so close. But the water kept rising, faster, higher. It reached the tunnel ceiling, only inches of air left, then none, completely submerged. Everyone held their breath, kicked desperately, following Duke's dark shape ahead. Ben's lungs burned, screamed for air. His vision darkened at the edges.
Peter went limp in his arms. Ben kicked harder, refused to let go. Duke burst through the entrance, into daylight, into air. Ben followed seconds later, gasped, pulled Peter up. The young miner wasn't breathing.
Ben laid Peter on the ground immediately, started chest compressions, hard, fast, desperate. Breathe, damn you! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nothing. He kept going, refused to stop. Duke stood over them, barking, urging, demanding. 10 compressions, 15, 20. Peter suddenly coughed, vomited water, gasped, alive. Ben collapsed beside him, exhausted, relieved. More miners emerged from the flooded entrance, one by one, coughing, gasping, crawling. Jack counted frantically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everyone held their breath, waiting, praying. Then Tom burst through, dragging the 12th man, unconscious but breathing. 12 men, all 12, all alive. The crowd erupted. Wives ran forward. Children screamed with joy. Copper Ridge had its miners back. Ben sat on the ground, soaked, exhausted, every muscle screaming. Duke limped over. His right front paw was bleeding, cut on sharp rocks. The dog was exhausted too. Ben examined the paw carefully. Deep cut, needed stitches. "You did it, boy," Ben whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved them all." Duke licked his hand once, then collapsed beside him. The town doctor rushed over, started checking miners, bandaging wounds, splinting bones. Everyone would survive. Everyone would heal. Because of Duke. Because of one dog who refused to give up, who led them through impossible darkness, through flooded tunnels, through collapsing mountains. Jack approached slowly, tears streaming down his dirty face. "Marshal, I don't know how to thank you." "Thank Duke," Ben said simply. He stroked the dog's wet fur. "He's the hero here." Jack knelt down beside the German shepherd, looked into those intelligent brown eyes. "Thank you," he said quietly, sincerely. Duke's tail thumped once against the ground. Weak, tired, but content. The job was done. The men were safe. That evening, Copper Ridge held an impromptu celebration. Someone brought out a fiddle. Another produced whiskey. Miners danced despite their injuries. Wives cried happy tears. Children ran wild. Ben sat apart, watching. Duke lay beside him, bandaged paw stretched out. The town mayor approached, older gentleman, gray beard, formal suit, somehow still clean. "Marshal Ben, the town wants to give you a reward, $500. Ben shook his head immediately. "I don't want payment for doing what's right." "Then we'll give it to Duke," the mayor insisted. He smiled warmly. "For the bravest dog in Colorado territory." Ben considered that, looked at Duke. The dog was watching the celebration quietly. "He'd probably prefer a steak," Ben said. The mayor laughed. "He'll get both, a steak, and we're commissioning a statue, right here, of Duke, so everyone remembers what he did." Ben felt something catch in his throat. A statue. Duke would be remembered forever. The dog who saved 12 miners, who ventured into hell itself, who refused to quit when everything said quit. The mayor walked away, returned minutes later with a massive steak, still warm. Duke's eyes opened, his nose twitched. Ben set the steak down. "You earned this, boy. Every bite." Duke ate slowly, savoring it, too tired to rush. Ben watched the celebration continue, miners telling their story, embellishing already. How the water rose, how they thought they'd die, how Duke appeared like magic, led them out. The story would grow, would become legend, would be told for generations, and every word was true. Ben stood slowly, his body protesting. "Come on, boy, let's go home." Duke struggled to his feet, limped badly on the injured paw, but followed, always followed. They walked away from the celebration, into the quiet evening. The sun was setting, painting the mountains orange and gold. Beautiful, peaceful. Hard to believe what happened just hours ago. At the edge of town, Tom caught up with them. "Marshal, wait!" They reached Silver Creek 3 days later. Duke's paw needed healing. The town greeted them quietly. Word had spread about the rescue. That night, Ben sat on his porch with Duke beside him. "You know what, boy?" Ben said quietly. 12 men breathing tonight because of you. 12 families whole. That's what matters." A week later, a package arrived from Copper Ridge. Inside was a photograph. Duke's bronze statue. The inscription read, "Duke, hero of Copper Ridge, saved 12 lives, never gave up." Duke sniffed the photograph, unimpressed. He didn't care about fame, just cared about his job.